Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you all. If you're on Facebook, on YouTube Live, if you are listening to us as you're driving along or as you're at home, welcome. And my name is Roland Gale. You've joined Family Time, and Family Time is about your issues and your relationships, your at home family, your community family, and your global family. Family Time is produced by Family Life Ministries, and our aim is to enable healthy families, which will lead to healthy nations. Stay with us, and you can encourage your friends, your family to join on one of our platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we are also on Instagram. Our topic tonight is children and road safety. And the question is your child road savvy? Are you a good example to your child when it comes to road safety? Who teaches your child about road safety? The use of cell phones and interacting with strangers is something that we need to also discuss. What are the instructions or what are the guidelines on that? We have things like stoplights, stop signs, pedestrian crossings. Do your children know how to use those things? Do they know how to behave on the road? And while we talk about that, we want to ask you to share your story about how the safe use of the road saved a child's life. Tell us a story. Tell us something that you experienced or that you know about. And send us those stories via WhatsApp. You can text us or you can send a voice note. Make sure the voice note is no longer than 30 seconds. And the number is 997-3125. You can also call the studio lines at 968-8327 or 968-8328. And you put 876 before that, and you can participate in that way. All right. You can also send us messages on YouTube or on Facebook. We're going to be right back. Our special guest is the Education and Information Officer at the Island Traffic Authority. His name is Dontae Matthews. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Yay! Get ready for a worship-filled time inside Love in the Morning with me, your host, Jakal Dyer. This Wednesday, May 24, at 6 a.m., we shed light on some new artists making waves in the gospel music industry. Then, grab a cup of coffee and start the day right with Morning Coffee Pick-Me-Up Devotional. Then at 7 a.m., we bring you the Morning Watch with intriguing and thought-provoking discussions. It's Theme Music Wednesday. We play music that highlights God's goodness. Also, feel free to send in your song requests. 8:30 a.m. inside The Healthy Way, we discuss birthmarks. 9:30 a.m. is Something More, brought to you by the Faith Cathedral Deliverance Center. Stick and stay with us. This is Inspiration Wednesday inside Love in the Morning, 5 to 10 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
Make sure your belly on board.
This is a special announcement from Love 101 and Love Television. Our general offices will be closed to the public on Labor Day, Tuesday, May 23, and will reopen on Wednesday, May 24, 2023 at 8:30 a.m. Programs and commercials for Tuesday, May 23 should be submitted by 9 a.m. on Monday, May 22, and obituaries and notices by 10 a.m. on the same day to ensure scheduling for broadcast. Love 101 and Love TV wish for you and yours a peaceful Labor Day.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining and staying with us. I hope you got some friends and some members of your family to also come and listen in. Today we have with us Dontae Matthews, and it's going to be a pleasure speaking with him tonight. How you doing, Dontae?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am giving God thanks, and I know it's a little bit rainy this evening in some places, but I hope everybody is safe and dry. And for our
Yes.
listeners, Dontae is the Education and Information Officer at the Island Traffic Authority. And he's going to give us some of his expertise. He's going to share some things that he knows. But while he does that, we also want to hear your stories. So, all of you listeners, share a story about how the safe use of the road saved a child's life. And the WhatsApp number is 997-3125. So you can send us either a text or a voice note. Or if you want to, you can call the studio line. Those numbers are 968-8327 and 968-8328. But let's jump right in, Dante, because time flies fast on this program. All right? And
Yes.
one of the first thing I want you to do is just to kind of set a stage for us. What can you tell us about the statistics concerning children on our roads?
Okay, so Roland, last year we lost 19 children to road crashes, and that's out of 488 total fatalities for the year. So far for this year, we have lost 5 children.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that
five
was
children we have
19
lost.
last year and
Yeah,
five so far
so
this year.
far. Yeah,
And you're looking hopefully at a reduction from last year because that
hoping
is,
for no more, no more.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. Because right now we're looking at maybe one per month, and that sounds a little harsh, but we
yes,
want to make sure that it stays there so that by the end of the year we still have five.
yeah.
That's rough. I remember reading somewhere where it said that we had something like 24 or 25 the year previous.
Yes,
Is
in
that
2000, yeah,
true?
yes, in 2022. Sorry, in 2021. Yes, we had 24.
In 2021 we had 24. Last year we had
We had
19,
19, and
and
so
so
far for
this
this
year,
year we're at 5.
okay, man, I am happy about that, and I'm hoping that we can get it down to zero. Uh, if if we talk about children as being the heritage of the Lord, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is the impact on a family when they lose a child? Can you talk about that? When they
All
lose
right,
a
so
child in a way like that?
there are families who, for example, a couple who may have struggled to conceive, and they finally get a child, and that child is the a beam of light and everything, and to have that child taken away from you in a road crash, it's kind of heartbreaking. And especially if that child was a promising child, somebody who was doing well in school, and somebody you could be proud of. And you know some persons would normally say, when you have a child, it's like your heart in human form, in human form. So when you lose that child, it's like your heart is shattered into pieces. So it is a burden on the family, because not only as it relates to financial burden, but in terms of emotional damage. The family is not what it used to be when a child is missing. A child usually brings that feeling of joy, and just a little extra to the household.
Yeah, almost like hope because the child represents the future.
Yes,
And when you
definitely.
lose that, it's such a huge loss.
Yeah, some people
Um,
cope, some people can't.
some people cope, some people can't. And so
Yeah.
when you multiply that by 24 back in 2021, or you multiply that by 19
Mm-hmm.
last year, or the five that have been lost this year, you realize the scope of that kind of tragedy
Tragedy.
and
Yes.
how important it is for us to ensure that we look after our kids, that we train them the right way, and
Yeah.
that we do everything we can to keep them safe on the roads. Now, what are some issues regarding motorists? What are some issues that you would raise that have a direct impact on fatalities among children?
All right. So some of the issues that we have realized is, when it comes to drivers, we have an issue where children are not being belted in the cars. And we have had cases where a car is in a collision, and the child, or even just regular backseat passengers, they fly to the front of the vehicle, and they go through the windscreen, or they end up damaging the person in the front because the persons in the back weren't belted. We have had cases where a motorist is speeding, especially in a school zone or an area there where children frequent, maybe a playground or something, and they don't cut the speed. And a child, especially when they're at a certain age, when a car hits them or so, they're not fully mature. So the bones, as soon as they get hit, it's either they end up in the hospital in critical conditions, or they die. We
Hmm.
have also had cases where motorcyclists, they're transporting um, children on the back of the bike without a helmet. We have seen some photos where you have five people on a bike, two children, babies. I don't understand how. How do you do that? So those are some of the issues we're having.
I understand that. I wanted to raise some awareness of things that are being done, and
Mhm.
I know that there are entities that have now begun to funnel resources into making kids aware, things like that. Uh, what would you want to say about that? Raising awareness, having kids become more understanding. What would you want to say about that?
Well, that's something that's welcoming because we at the road safety unit in the Island Traffic Authority, we have an active public education campaign, and we once a school calls us, we're ready to go. And even when they don't call us, we schedule the schools based on statistics. So if we find
Invite
that,
yourself. You invite yourself.
yes, yes,
Well
because
done.
we have to get to them from as early as possible. And what we try to do sometimes, or not sometimes, but what we do, we choose the schools based on hotspot areas where the schools are located. So if the school is on a main road where motorists frequently speed, if the school is in an area where the children have to walk from the school to the bus park, we try to target those schools. In cases where the schools invite us, they send us, like they tell us, some of the things that they have been noticing. For example, when children get out of the taxi, they run across the road as soon as the taxi let them off, or when they're walking in groups, they're walking in a bundle. They dash across the road, they play in puddles of water, they're jumping on the back of vehicles, when they're passing with goods and stuff like that. So there are things that the children are doing in certain areas of the country that, propels us to go to these schools, or, require us to make an intervention.
Right. I don't know if I'm allowed to call names, but I saw where UNICEF in particular has developed some
Hmm.
campaigns and is doing stuff. Has that been of use to you? Has that helped?
Definitely, and UNICEF. We have worked with UNICEF. We actually worked with a consultant from UNICEF to develop a learner driver, adolescent learner driver curriculum, which has been bearing fruit in secondary schools, because we have to target not only primary but secondary as well, infant. All road users, no matter what. So UNICEF, and we notice there are some videos that UNICEF they have created, and we like them. We have used them in our public education sessions because we like to show them the videos, because we want the students to understand. When we go to the schools, we want them to understand certain critical information: how to walk properly, how to cross properly, how to put on a seatbelt, things like that. And UNICEF, they have created some really interesting videos which are useful for our children.
Right. How often, sorry, do you get to go out to the schools? You may have
every
said it, but I missed it.
every month, it's a standard. That's a If we
Okay.
don't do anything else in this unit, which we do, we go to schools. So even
Right.
even last week, I was out for 2 days. Like, I was not in office because I was at a school. I was at two schools.
Yeah.
We have other officers, so when I can't make it to schools, we have other officers in the unit that go to schools. We sometimes partner with the police. That's the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement branch, because they have a replica of the sidewalk. So they go with a van, and they have like a layout of the sidewalk, and then we put the pedestrian crossing, like a vinyl pedestrian crossing, signs, cones, and we teach them how to cross the road using the curb drill. So that's hand up, and we teach them that the hand should be above the head, not the same height as the head, above the head. Then you look to your right, then left, then right. And I have to mention that right, left, right, because a lot of times when we go to the schools and we ask the students, how do you cross the road? You know what they tell us? Up and down. So I have to remind them, listen, up, this is up, this is down.
I was
Sorry?
wondering what you meant. I was
Yes.
wondering what you meant by up and down.
Yeah, they
Oh,
tell us
right.
they tell us up and down, but the
Yeah, but
correct way.
we go up the road or down the road. We don't
Yes.
go.
So we have
Yeah.
to let them understand the proper way, because
Yeah.
we want them to ensure that you look to the right first. If it's
Yeah.
two-way traffic, the right first, then the left, then the right. And we tell them why we look to the right first. Or sometimes we ask them to see if they know, and in most cases they know. So in
Yeah.
Jamaica, we drive on the left side of the road. So when we're standing like this and we look to our right, that lane to our right is actually the left lane that's coming down, and it's the first traffic lane that will hit you if you step out into the road without looking. So we have to instill that in our students or in our children when we go to schools, and not only schools but even at expos. For example, we go to a lot of 4-H events. So in March, I remember we went to about 12 of the 14 4-H parish achievement days, because that's where you see the bulk of the children um, learning and wanting to know information. So you have to reach them where they are. We go to other expos such as like Agrofest, summer camps. We just got a call this morning for a summer camp that will be taking place in August. So we're getting ready to go to those events, because we have to reach them where they are. And in the summer is when, the children are on the road playing, going to shop, going to country, traveling. The children are out and about when it comes
Probably
to summer.
more unsupervised than during
Yes,
school as
because
well.
parents are at work.
Yeah,
Maybe the parents leave them with a big brother or big sister, and anything
right,
can happen. When they go out on the road, so we have
right,
to
right.
reach them where they are.
All right. When we were talking about the statistics,
Hmm.
and to me the statistics are important.
Yes.
How did it break down in terms of what kind of road
Okay.
user?
So the
Um,
majority, okay. So the majority for last year were pedestrians. So we had
okay,
7 out of the 19 that were pedestrians. Then we had passengers. Don't remember the exact numbers, but we had passengers, private motor vehicle passengers. We had public passengers, I should say. We also had a motorist and a motorcyclist. So that means that we have children who are driving illegally. So we had I think, if I remember correctly, it was a 15-year-old motorcyclist that died last year, also a
right,
16-year-old motorist. So those are
yeah.
some of the breakdown that we're seeing. It's really serious. It's a serious issue. And when we look at this year, we're looking at, pedestrians, passengers, pedal cyclists. Those are some of the numbers we're seeing, or some of the road user categories we're seeing.
All right, just a step back from the fatality numbers. Do we
Mhm.
have numbers regarding injuries or accidents generally for kids on the roads?
Not off the top of my head, no, but there are a
Okay,
lot of cases where children get hit down, they're in hospital, and sometimes they're in hospital for a while, and then they succumb to the injuries, and then when they succumb to the injuries, we have to add that to the fatalities.
right.
So we have had cases. So we try to not only focus on the fatalities, but also the impact that the crashes have, and
That's why, yeah,
so
that's why
children
I'm
can be
asking.
paralyzed. They can
Right,
lose, their lives will never be the same.
right, right, right. And it,
Yeah.
it all boils down to awareness, to
Hmm.
teaching them what the right things are. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Definitely. And it also, the parents or the adults in general play a role in ensuring that our children are safe road users. Because if you teach your child the proper way to use the roadway, they will adapt to it. But if and you have to set an example. So if you're walking with your child, or maybe not walking with them, but they see you on the road and you just walk across the road when it's not your turn to cross, then the child is going to believe that it's safe to run across the road once it, because you want to get across the road. So you have to,
Yeah.
teach them from early what the colors in the traffic light means, safe places to cross, where not to cross, things like that.
You just raise a point, and it's a story that perhaps I will put because we're waiting on our audience to share their stories with us. I
Yes.
was driving along one day, and a young man, I would probably figure he's like maybe 10 or under 10.
Mm-hmm.
He was wanting to cross the road, and just before him was a big man who looked across the road, held out his hand as if he was a policeman stopping the traffic,
Mm-hmm.
and walked across safely. And the little boy did exactly the same thing and
Yes.
almost got hit down
Oh.
because he almost got hit. He didn't get hit, he almost got hit down. But he was following what the man was doing with this.
Mm-hmm.
Put out your hand, and the car must stop. And the guy went across, and
Yeah.
just behind him was this little boy who was doing the same thing. Put up your hand, and the car must stop.
And we have that culture, and I don't know why we do it. It's like we just step out into traffic, and once we step out, the car must stop.
Yeah, We don't give any kind of leeway for mechanical failure or for
Mm-hmm.
a driver not being
Or
too attentive.
distracted, being
Yeah,
distracted.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's important for us really as adults to set a good example. If we don't set a good example, go
Mm-hmm.
ahead, say what you're going to say.
No, I was saying definitely, because even with you know in the vehicle, you're at the stoplight, the light is on, or let's say the light is on red, but you decide you want to start driving right away. You're not setting an example, because when that child grows up, that child thinks that it's good to just proceed when the light is on red, running the red light, things like that, running across the road, just all of those bad behavior that we're trying to change.
That we are trying to change, the
Yeah.
indiscipline that we are trying to change.
Mm-hmm.
What are some things that we as a nation, maybe, or as motorists, what are some things that we do wrong
In
on the
regards
roads?
Oh, interesting. So we over
All right, we
we
don't have all night.
so we we disobey speed limits no matter what. So when we talk about speed limits, I usually say to some drivers, these speed limits don't exist because they are there. But you realize that when they're in school zones, when it says 30 kilometers, you have drivers going at 60, 70. On
Hmm.
the open roads or built up areas, when it's 50, drivers going 80, 90. On the highway,
Hmm.
the north south highway is 80,
Hmm.
people going 100, 110, 120. On the PJ Patterson highway, which is 110, people going 120, 130. So we break the speed limit, we overtake improperly, so we don't do what we're supposed to do when we're overtaking. So we don't check to ensure that the lane, the oncoming traffic lane is clear. We don't check to see if there's a broken or unbroken line. We don't put on our indicators. It's a problem. I don't know what's wrong with us. In Jamaica, we tend to, it's like our indicator doesn't work in the vehicle.
Car never come with it.
You have people, they put on the indicator while they're turning.
Yeah,
So they don't put it on like 100 meters before turning, or 150. While they're turning, when you are already thinking they're going straight, once they turn, that's
yeah,
when on the indicator. We
yeah, yeah,
also
yeah.
have motorists failing to keep to the proper traffic lane. So you should be in the left lane, and you find that you're middling, you're in the middle. So you're in the left lane, and you're in the lane going up, and also the lane coming down. And that's what
Oh,
happened.
remember, we must say left and right, not up and down,
Yes.
or north and south.
Yes. But I'm just saying, some of the motorists that we have, they don't keep to the proper traffic lane.
They don't.
Some of
They
them,
don't.
and that's what happened with
Sometimes,
them.
sometimes you are in a lane that's going straight, and they
Hmm.
are on the wrong side
Yes.
to come and cut across you and turn in a direction that is not anywhere near where they are.
Yes.
So they just go in the wrong lane. That happens so much at our intersections.
And
You have people turning
it's
left
funny.
and coming from your right hand side, turning
Yes.
left
Yes.
across you to go left. It's
It's
crazy.
interesting when you say that, because the other day it happened to me and it happened to one of my coworkers. So, you're in the lane that can either go right or continue straight, right?
Yes, yes,
So I'm in that lane, but I'm going straight.
yes,
A taxi driver was in the left lane. So remember, he can only go straight or turn left,
yes,
not right,
yes,
and it's as if he realized that, oh, I need to turn right, but I'm in the wrong lane. So he just drift in front, and it's a good thing I wasn't distracted or anything. I had to break up so that
yeah,
he could go over. So he was in the
yeah,
lane far left, and he was trying
right,
to come over past everybody else to make a right turn, and
right.
that's a collision could have happened there.
And he could also have hit a pedestrian because the pedestrian sees
Exactly.
you going straight and
Hmm.
expect that everything is fine.
It's fine.
Man,
So
it's
those are some of the things, and that's those bad behavior that I mentioned are actually the top three causes of the fatalities that we've been seeing. So speeding, overtaking improperly, failure to keep to the proper traffic lane, and also when it comes to pedestrians, we have pedestrians walking out or standing in the middle of the road. So when we look at the fatalities, the top three categories: motorcyclists, they're leading. Then we have pedestrians, then private motor vehicle drivers. Those are the top three out of all the road users that we have.
private motor vehicle comes
Private
above
motor
public
vehicles.
passenger vehicles.
Could you repeat?
Do private motor vehicles come above public
Yes.
um
Interesting,
passenger
right?
vehicle. Really?
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
so it's something people ask a lot, because they're saying, how? They're saying, how does that happen? And then some people will tell you, oh, it's because the PPV drivers, they are the ones who they cause the crash, but they only public they may just get a vehicle damage or so, but then they cause other motorists or other road users to meet in serious to have serious injuries or so. So
Right.
yes, they are actually. Oh, yes. So I'm saying yes. So they're actually lower than the private motor vehicle drivers. And our young people actually accounted for the highest when it comes to private motor vehicle drivers and overall fatalities. Our young people's 15 to 29.
Okay, so 15 to 29 is a different category from children.
No man, so children go up to 0 to 17, but when we look at the
Okay.
overall and the amount that accounts for the highest fatalities, that
Right.
15, because remember I mentioned that we have some underage driving going on
Yes,
across the
yes, you
country.
did mention that. Right.
Yeah. But we
Right.
also have, those young people who you call them shatter drivers. So the ones that press gas and say them gonna burn up road, and
Yeah.
when it comes to motorcyclists, we have those that call themselves a no headlight crew. They remove the mirrors from the bike, they remove the headlights, they remove the silencers from the muffler, so they make a lot of noise in the communities. Yeah.
I have a question to ask. Do we do any research on why it is that our motorcyclists in particular are so reckless or careless? Do we have any understanding of that?
Not off the top of my head, or that I know of, but we know that we do some surveys from time to time, especially when it comes to motorcyclists. We have motorcycle surveys, and we are gathering data because what we do. I remember last year we went to, well, one of the locations that I went to. We looked at some of the motorcyclists because we wanted to check, if they're driving the motorcycle with helmets, if their pillion passengers are wearing helmets, if the motorcycle has the L on it, because some of them, they get the learners and they drive perpetually with the learners, and they don't
Yes, yes.
they don't go to get the driver's license. And when we went to do that survey, our target was about 45, and we actually exceeded the target, and not one motorcyclist, not one of them was wearing a helmet, nor their pillion passenger. And when you went, because we ask these questions when we go to motorcycle forums and trainings, and
Yes, yes.
when we ask the question and we try to figure out, why they do what they do, we find out that they say, oh, the helmet is uncomfortable, it makes them sweat. They say that they remove the mirrors because it makes the bike slimmer to go through traffic. Because when we're at the stoplight, we see them going through traffic a lot,
Yes,
and they're
yes.
supposed to be in the traffic lane, but they don't. And
Yeah.
they're driving, they put on shorts and slippers when driving, and then that's how we see a lot of the injuries, and they're a burden on the healthcare system, because when you drive the motorcycle wearing slippers, shorts, and you get thrown off the bike, and you're dragged on the asphalt or on the road, or
No
wherever you
protection at
fall,
all.
your
No
skin is
protection.
torn. Your skin is
Yeah.
torn, and trust me, we have the photos, and the doctors will tell you at the hospitals there are a lot of injury. There are a lot of cases coming from motorcycle, road crashes in general. But the motorcyclists, they are taking up a lot of bed spaces.
I can just imagine. All right, we are almost at a break, so I just want to remind our audience, our listeners, that we're going to have some more to discuss. Stay with
Yes.
us, but we want you, our listeners, to share a story about how the safe use of the road saved a child's life. We want your responses, all right? And the WhatsApp number is 997-3125. You can watch us and comment live on Facebook and on YouTube. Or you can call the studio lines at 968-8327 or 968-8328 to participate. I'm sure Dante is willing to answer any questions you have, to respond to any comments that you make. So just have some things to say to us and we are going to respond to you. All right? We're going to go for a break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile: cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
Jamaica Central Bank digital currency is now here. Jamdex, no cash, no problem. Step into a future of ease, convenience, and security. Conduct business with your mobile device instantly and without fees. This is how life should be with Jamdex. You catch it free. Jamdex are the real free. Use it to buy your stove or TV. You can buy your shoes or 3 piece. Get the central bank digital currency. No cash, no problem. Jamdex, backed by the Bank of Jamaica.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
Calling all candidates registered for City and Guilds exams in June, reminding you that math is on the 6th and English on the 7th of June. Both exams will be at 9 a.m. sharp. You will sit your exams at your schools. Don't miss this opportunity provided by the Ministry of Education and Youth. This certification could be your passport to the future.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to Family Time, and we're talking today about children and road safety. Just want you to know that we are here at 6:01 p.m. and this is a great time for you to remind your child that you love them. It is Child Month, and that's one of the reasons why we are focusing on children now. Not the only reason, but one of the reasons. And we have with us our special guest, Dontae. And Dontae, I should be calling you Mr. Matthews because you're sharing some important stuff with us. How did you get into road safety? As just as a personal question, how did you get into that?
It's interesting it's interesting how you ask that, because I'm actually I studied communications, public relations at Northern Caribbean University, and I'm actually a journalist by was a journalist. I worked at the Jamaica Information Service, and I honestly don't know how I ended up in road safety, but I am basically the communications and the public relations side of the field. And I've just been learning. I've been here since last year, so it's 1 year and a few months, 1 year 3 months thereabout. So I am learning as I go along, and it's
Well,
interesting
I'm
because I like to give information and ensure that persons understand and can relate to information, and just to be safe on the road.
well, it is a pleasure having you, sir, and I'm glad you're with us.
Yes.
We've been talking and we've been discussing statistics and trends and stuff like that. But what
Yes.
what are some tips that you would perhaps give to parents
Hmm.
in regard to having their children be safe on the road? What are some tips you'd give parents?
All right, so we want parents to ensure that their children understand that distractions play a big role in a lot of the crashes or collisions that we have been seeing. So the phones, the headphones, students have headphones while walking on the road, so they don't hear when a vehicle is honking the horn. They don't hear when they don't. They're in the game or the phone texting, so we want to cut out the distractions on the road. Also, when parents are accompanying young children on the road, we want to ensure that the parents keep the children on the inside, because you have some parents, when they're walking with children on the road, the children is on the outside, meaning they're closest to the traffic. So if that child should get away, they run into traffic. So keep them on the inside. Also, walk within guardrails where those are provided. We want to ensure that parents teach their children to use safe places to cross. And when we talk about safe places, we're talking about a pedestrian crossing at the traffic light or signalized intersection. So teach them the meaning of those signs. If you've ever been at a pedestrian crossing and you see the red hand that says stop, teach them that when you see that red hand, it means you're supposed to stop. If you see that same red hand while it's counting down, if you're already on the pedestrian crossing, then make it across quickly. But if you have not entered the pedestrian crossing, stay where you are. And when you see the white symbol, that white walking symbol, even though it means you're supposed to walk, you still have to look out for those motorists or motorcyclists who, you know, decided that they want to break the rules of the road. So even though it says your turn to walk, I always tell children or just road users in general, look out for traffic because you might have that one person who decided that they need to go somewhere quickly and they're just going to run through the red light. So
Yes, can I ask a question? There is something that I noticed, or I think I noticed,
mhm,
at a particular intersection in Kingston, and it is that when the walk permission is given to the pedestrians,
mhm.
one of the lanes of traffic actually has a green light still.
Oh, which
Is
intersection
that,
is that?
should I tell you? It's by Fontana Pharmacy in Barbican. W-
Oh, oh, interesting.
that's what I believe I have noticed, because you will see that little white walking person on the
Yes.
thing,
So it means that so it will tell the pedestrians that they have the
that
right
it
of way,
is safe to
but at the
go.
same time it's telling the drivers that they can go.
Yes,
And
the
that's a recipe.
drivers.
That's a recipe for so
That's a
that's where
recipe
caution
for.
is needed.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if I am correct in saying that, or if I'm making it up, or if that is a design of the.
What I'll do is probably speak with NWA because we have a
Yeah,
relationship with NWA, so we can always ask them, and just to seek clarifications, and because we also make recommendations, to
right.
NWA, and that's something that we do also when we go to the schools. We have a checklist that we take with us. So when we go to the schools and after we do our sessions, we make an audit basically. So we see, all right, is there a pedestrian crossing at this school? Does it need repainting? Because what happens, sometimes people think that it's okay to just make a pedestrian crossing by themselves and paint it. It's a technical thing, So
Really?
when you hear people say, "Oh, we're gonna paint pedestrian crossings for Labor Day and all of that," there's actually a certain type of paint that you have to use. Some people just use water paint a pedestrian crossing, and then when it rains, by the next 2 days or so, the pedestrian crossing wash out.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct
yeah.
paint to use is thermoplastic.
And that would be something that's probably reflective as well.
That's what the paint,
The paint, would the paint
and it's
be
something that's
reflective?
long lasting. So
It's just
that
long
white that
lasting.
white
Okay.
pops more. When you use the
Right.
other one, the water paint, or the people who just buy regular paint and use
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it easily fades. And
Okay.
there are certain things that come. So, for example, somebody can't just go and create a pedestrian crossing because they see the need for it. Audit has to be done. Assessment has to be done to the roadway to ensure that the pedestrian crossing is the correct length and width and all of that. Also, signs have to be implemented because so you know that when you're approaching a pedestrian crossing, a good way to tell, a legal pedestrian crossing or a pedestrian crossing that should be there, you normally see a yellow sign, a yellow pedestrian crossing sign that warns you. So the yellow sign warns you that there's a pedestrian crossing ahead. And then when you reach the pedestrian crossing, there's a blue sign that's directly at the pedestrian crossing. So you
Yes,
have a
yes.
yellow one that warns you, and then the blue one is directly at the pedestrian crossing.
Right,
So yeah,
right,
so we
right,
do
right.
audits like that. We also look at when we do the checklist, we look at if the school has a sign that's if it has school signs visible. So if the sign is hit down or so, we make a note of it to say maybe the speed limit sign got hit down, the children crossing sign got hit down. So we make note of that, and then we make recommendations to NWA. And we have had a few schools that have gotten their pedestrian crossings repainted because of our surveys and relation reaching out to the schools and the schools reaching out to us. I remember one exactly, Duncan's All Age in Trelawney. They reached out to us because their PTA, I think, wanted to repaint a pedestrian crossing. So they reached out to us for advice. And so we had to contact NWA first to find out if it's a legal pedestrian crossing, if it's gazetted. Usually it's NWA or the parish council, so we have to find out, who is in charge of that pedestrian crossing. Once we get the go ahead, we tell them the proper paint, everything, and it has been repainted and signs, fixed and everything. So those are some of the things we have to look at to ensure that our children have safe places to cross.
Right, right, right. In terms of safety for the kid, we have been talking about just regular roadways.
Hmm.
But one of the things that I have noticed is that on private property, there are
Yes.
some, yeah, okay. You see where I'm
Yes.
going?
Yes, even
What
even
would
on
you say?
at schools too. So
At schools
in
as
parking
well.
lots, so in parking lots we have issues where, for example, somebody is backing into a parking spot or backing out of a parking spot, and the child, they're so little. The child is maybe so little you don't even see them, and and I've seen this on social media a lot too, where maybe a kid will be playing and they go maybe underneath a car, if one of those
And
high,
hide.
and hide behind the wheel or something,
Hmm.
and you're backing out and you probably don't realize that the child is under your vehicle. And kids like to play hide and seek and all
Yes.
of those things. So we also look at that, especially when it comes to places where a lot of children are, such as like playground at schools. For example, you're visiting a school during lunchtime when children are active, they're out at play, eating their lunch. When I go to a school and I'm leaving and it's their lunchtime, I have to be honking the horn, ensuring I look, because they may not be seeing you, but you want them to see you. You're looking at them. You don't want to hit anybody on the school compound. And large trucks and buses also. I remember a situation, I think it's in half a tree, where a garbage truck hit down a
Yes.
student on the compound.
Yes.
So we have
Yeah.
cases like that. So it's very important that we understand how to relate safety information to our children, not just on the roadway but even on a compound, a school compound, in the home, in plazas, places like that.
Absolutely, because it's not only on the main road that vehicles are being
Yeah.
operated. And when you go onto some school compounds, you may
Hmm.
find that there's a football field or there is a
Yeah.
netball field,
Yeah.
and a ball will roll off, and then all of
Yeah,
a
and they
sudden a
run.
kid is dashing across the road.
Yeah, and they usually say wherever you see a ball, there's
A
usually a
kid will
child
follow.
behind.
Yes,
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 yes. So we need our parents to think about stuff like that and just remind their kids, keep reminding your kids,
yeah.
because nobody wants to hear that your kid has been injured at school in that way.
And also,
Nobody wants to hear that.
and there's also another issue, when we see children packing up in the back of vehicles in the trunk, actually. So that's something we need to stop, because there are no seatbelts in the trunk. The trunk is not made to transport um humans. It's made to
When
transport
you say trunk, do you mean like the back of a station
where
wagon?
where you put goods and equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
We have
What
children traveling in that type of, in that situation.
space in that space?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if a car should run into the back of that vehicle, those who are the occupants in that trunk will get hurt.
Of course,
So
and
we
there
need to
are
desist.
crumple zones that will just give way. No, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we need to desist from
Wow.
having our children in those situations. We want to also ensure that our children know places that they should not cross. So in addition, so let me finish up the places that they should cross. So we have the pedestrian crossing, the traffic light or signalized intersection. We have the pedestrian bridge. Some people call it the overhead bridge. No, one is on Spanish Town Road. One is on Mandela. So yeah, so we have pedestrian bridge.
We have a couple. I think there's one down on Morosco Road. Where is Wilmer's
Yeah,
again?
Wilma's, yes, that's
Yes.
one,
Yeah.
because you have to
Yeah.
walk on to go over to the other
Right. Right. Right.
section.
And I see the kids doing it. I'm so happy when I see them doing it.
Yes, yes, very good. That's very good. And
Yeah.
when it comes to places that they should not cross now, at a corner, children should not cross. Not only children, but pedestrians in general should not cross at a corner, because when you cross at a
Hmm.
corner, a car may be coming around with full speed, and as you step off the curb, the car hits you. Right. Also on the highway or toll plaza, there are no pedestrian crossings on the toll road for anybody. Nobody should be on on the toll road crossing. You notice the vehicle go at a certain speed on the toll roads. They don't have time to stop
Yeah.
to let anybody across.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, when it comes to not crossing, where to not cross, we want to ensure that children do not cross in between large trucks and buses or between parked vehicles. Because remember, when you just come out and you go in between the two vehicles and you want to cross, the car that's coming in the lane going down, they may not see you, because the trucks, remember, trucks and buses are high vehicles. So when you just step out, if you don't look carefully before you cross, a car just hits you right there.
That's so true. That is so true. We need to bear those things in mind. And
Yeah.
Dante, we're up at another break, so I'm gonna ask you to just come back with us. Our listeners, come back with us. And
Yes.
we want to hear from our listeners this evening. We really want to hear from you. So remember, you can send us your text or your WhatsApp. And we are talking about children and road safety. We have with us this evening Education and Information Officer at the Island Traffic Authority, Dontae Matthews. Stick around, we have some more to go.
Fire in My Soul Promotions in association with Kingdom Liberty Evangelistic Ministries and partners present Kingdom Worship Experience with Kevin Downswell, Rhoda Isabella, Mark Johnson, Harry Sales, and CAG Family. Music by DJ Rebirth, DJ Marshy Reds, and DJ Stickle. Saturday, May 27, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m. at Curfew Place, 4 South Avenue, Swallowfield. Admission is free. Just bring an offering and proceeds in aid of the Swallowfield Primary and Infant School. 876-776-3217.
Welcome back, and it is now 6:15, I think, on the dot. And so we have a little time. We have with us our expert, Dontae Matthews. He has been just sharing with us and helping us to understand things that we need to know, giving us insights. And it is good to have him back with us. This is Family Time, and it's brought to you by Family Life Ministries. And Family Life Ministries provides counseling for people with all kinds of challenges from all walks of life. So listen out for our numbers in Kingston and Portmore at the end of the program, all right? Remember, we are on Facebook and we are on YouTube Live. So tune in to us and tell your friends and your family to join us however they can. All right? Our topic this evening is children and road safety. All right? We're going to jump straight back into something that I have been thinking about as we've been talking.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the factor that may not necessarily be about children, but it affects children so much, and it is the use of drugs or alcohol while
Oh.
we are operating vehicles. What would you say about that?
All right. So that's another issue when it comes to road crashes, because we realize that people, young people, and even the elderly, we have them when they go out, they want to have a drink. Nothing is wrong with having a drink, but when you have a drink, some people cannot manage the levels that they're drinking at, and so you find that they get intoxicated. And what happens, when you go behind the wheels, you're seeing all different kinds of things. The mind is in a different place, so we have what we call intoxicated driving, uh, and persons in the vehicle. All right, let me put it this way: when persons are going to drink and go to parties and all of that, have a designated driver. And when we talk about a designated driver, somebody who will not be drinking and somebody who is sober. Because
Mhm.
you cannot, the two of you cannot go out and the two of you are drunk.
And
Who is
intend to
going to
drive
take you
home.
home?
Exactly.
And I said that, and I asked that question: who's going to take you home? Because there are two answers to that question. Who is
Oh
going to take
man.
you home? Is it somebody who is
Ambulance.
sober, or is it going to be the undertaker?
Yes, yes, yes.
So we have to ensure that we do this. And when we go to our exhibitions, we carry some interesting equipment and devices at our exhibitions. We have what is called a breathalyzer, and so we are able to test persons breath to see if they have alcohol, if they have been even test if persons have been smoking. So, and we have, when we go to our events, we have what we call a field sobriety test. So it's like some goggles. What it does, when we put out a vinyl um replica of the roadway, and you put on a goggles. Well, we have different goggles with different levels, so it basically tells you different alcohol levels. So when you put them on, so let's say you try on one first, what that does, it distorts your vision and gives you the feeling of a drunk person, and you have to try and keep on the roadway. So when we go to events, that's usually a hit, because persons always want to try and see how it feels to be drunk. And then when they put it on and they take it off, they're like, "Oh Lord, me not drink then, because
Hmm.
if this is how it feels to be drunk, I don't want to be drunk," because it
How
gives you the
how
different
how
levels.
accurate is that? How accurate are those glasses? Do you know?
Well, they have different percentages. So they start. So maybe, so like for example, one will maybe just change the color of the view.
Okay.
Then one will
Yeah.
probably let you see two lines. Then one will
Yeah.
probably let you see
Blurry.
blurry halos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they give you different feelings. So somebody might put it on and say, "Oh, but this not feeling way." And that's how people feel when them drunk. And then they
Yeah.
try on another one and they say, "Oh." So there
Yeah.
are different levels to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because some people can drink lightly and they're okay. Some people can drink to the extreme and can't keep up. So the
Exactly.
goggles aim to, give it aims to deter you from drinking and driving or drinking and walking. Because you have those people who drink and then they're pedestrians, so they have to walk and they stumble into the roadway. So we have to, put the message out about, being intoxicated while on the roadway.
And there are, of course, various forms of intoxication. It could be alcohol, it could be
Um,
legal drugs, it could be
yes,
illegal drugs,
yeah,
different ways and means of being intoxicated.
yes.
We've spoken about so many things here now, and what I want us to do is kind of switch gears a little bit.
Hmm.
What kind of words of advice or encouragement can we give to our parents or our children? Start with the parents first.
All right, so let me tie that in with the theme that we're going to be working with for Road Safety Month. So the unit will be observing Road Safety Month in June under the theme "Alert Today, Alive Tomorrow." So we
Okay.
want our parents to be alert. Also, teach our children to be alert. So listen out for sounds, watch out for other road users, be patient on the road. So if as parents you're going to be driving, look out for pedestrians. If you can stop to let somebody get across, pedestrians have the right of way at a pedestrian crossing, but sometimes, you still have to be patient, right? Be cautious on the road. Our children we want them to want to ensure that they utilize the safe spaces, utilize the curb drill, which is to raise the hand, to elevate them, just to be alert on the roadway because we want to ensure that when you leave home, you arrive at your destination safely and you return home safely. I don't remember the singer. I think it's one of the Marleys. I don't remember. Have a song called "Reach Home Safe." The aim
Hmm.
when you leave your home is to reach home safe. And there's something I wanted to touch on before we wrap up the interview in regards to the illegal driving. We have been receiving reports of students in several parts of the island driving to school without a learner's permit or without a driver's license. And some of them they park on the school compound, and when the administration finds out what they do, they park the vehicle down at a friend's house, at the shop nearby, at a little chargy, and then they come to school. And it happens with motorcycle and motor cars. So what we're doing at the Island Traffic Authority Road Safety Unit, we have, as I men- as I mentioned earlier, developed a curriculum with UNICEF that looks at adolescent learner driver, and we have introduced it in about 12 schools so far. And a part of that curriculum, so it has a lot of topics. The curriculum has topics on drunk driving, defensive driving, the three collisions in a crash, distracted driving, and so many more. But there's a part of this curriculum that speaks to the learner's permit, and something that we have been doing since January. We launched it at York Castle High. We have what is called the road code test in schools program. So what this test does, so we go in and do a regular road safety presentation, vehicle safety presentation, and then we have a presentation on the provisional driver's license, otherwise called the learner's permit. So what we do, we take, because usually for a learner's permit under the new act, under the road traffic February 1, you make your appointment, you go to the depot to sit the test. When you pass the test, you go and get your learner's permit. So what we're doing now, we're making it convenient for our students. So we're taking the road code test to schools. They and it's kind of like a final exam after they, 'cause, we send the curriculum to them, and we do our sessions and do like a teaching with them. So that test serves as a form of final exam for them. And when they pass, they have to get 15 out of 20 to be considered successful. They obtain their learner's permit and they go on to learn to drive and be legally, able to operate a motor vehicle
As
under
a
the
student, yeah, as a
under the
student.
supervision of a licensed driver.
Right,
So
right.
we have rolled it out we have done the test in six schools. The latest being Mushat High in Trelawney, and we're happy about the initiative because it's allowing persons, and not only students are benefiting from it. We have had teachers and other administrative staff members who, they come on board and they do the test and they pass, and they have received their learner's permit, and they're learning to be safe, responsible drivers. And that's the aim. That's what we want, to reduce road fatalities by having safe, responsible drivers on the road network.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the advice to parents
Mm-hmm.
has to do with things like being alert,
Being alert,
um,
teaching the children how
teaching the
to cross the
children,
road properly, how to walk on the
right,
road properly in a single file, not in a
right,
bundle, and wear
right.
bright and light clothing at night, not dark,
That's so important.
not full
Oh
suit
man,
of black,
yeah, yeah, that
not
is
full
so
suit.
important. You
Yes,
only see a silhouette or you see a shadow and you
and
realize, oh, that was somebody
only when the light, only when the vehicle reaches to the
almost to
person,
them.
you realize that
Yeah,
somebody's actually there. So you want to
right,
ensure that
right,
when you're
right.
in the light, bright, and even for pedal cyclists, we want to also touch on them. They should be having reflectors on their bicycle. They should be wearing
Yes,
reflective clothing as well, and the helmet. A lot of people don't
yeah,
know, but pedal cyclists should be wearing a pedal cycle helmet
really.
to protect
Yeah, I
themselves.
didn't know that. One of the
Yeah.
one of the videos that I saw on the UNICEF site,
UNICEF, yes, it speaks
it
to.
it
I watched it earlier.
yes,
It speaks to the little
yes.
girl telling the little boy that he needs a helmet in order to
And him
ride
said,
his
but it's just
bicycle.
round there, me live. And she said to him, no, it
Yes,
don't matter
no
how
matter
far you
how
live.
far you're going, yes,
Yeah,
you need
if
to
it's
have a
just
helmet.
across the road, you put
Hmm.
on your safety
Because
gear.
we have had cases where even for motorcyclists, they don't wear the helmet because they say, oh, we're just going down the road or just going to the
Yeah,
shop. But we have had cases where people crash off a bike right in front of their yard.
and that's the end of them.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter how far you're
Wow.
going, protect the head.
Protect the head.
Yeah.
Protect the head. That is so important. Okay, how do we encourage or advise our children directly now? Few last
Okay.
words for the children.
All right. So for children, we want to ensure that they continue to be safe road users, meaning we're not going to be running across the road. We're not going to be playing last lick because that's something that they do. They play last lick, or some students call it tag, where they hit somebody and then they run off run across the road. So you're going to put down the devices. Wait. So if you need to text mommy or daddy before you reach home, text them on the school compound if phones are allowed. Put the phone in your bag or wherever. Cut out the distracted walking. So with the headphone and the games, want to ensure that we have our children, walk on the when there's no sidewalk, they walk on the right side facing the oncoming traffic. That way they can see the behavior and flow of traffic, and they know if something is happening, they can get out of the way. So don't walk with their backs turned to the traffic. Walk facing the oncoming traffic when there's no sidewalk. And
That's
just
a
be
very,
patient
very
also.
interesting. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Just to be
I was
what?
just saying, just to be patient also, because sometimes they want
Yeah.
to get across the road and they feel like they need to get home quickly, so they just run across the road as soon as they say maybe a one or two car pass, and they feel like they can beat the others that are coming, and maybe they can't because sometimes the roadway is a wide roadway, so but yeah, sometimes they have to be playing hopscotch in the road to get across. So they try and pass this vehicle, then they pass the other one. So we want to cut that out also. Wait until it is safe
Cut
to
that
do
out
so,
also.
and we want to remind them again to look right, then left, then right. Raise your hand, and even when it is safe to do so, you still want to look while you're crossing because there's always
Just in
somebody who
case.
wants to overtake,
Just in case. That's
just in
exactly right.
case.
How do we get in touch with you at the Island Traffic Authority?
All right, so anybody who wants us to come to their school to do a road safety presentation can email rsu at mtw.gov.jm, or they can message DITA at mtw.gov.jm. They can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So Road Safety Unit JA Authority. Or they can call the office number 754-1900.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dante. Thank you so much, sir. This has
Thank you
been
very much for having me.
this has been a great little talk.
Yes.
Want to
The
say
time
thanks
went
to
by
our
so quickly.
listeners. Of course, it went by quickly. Every time we have this, it goes by quickly, and I'm sure you have more to say. So hopefully, we can
Yes.
have you back. And
Hopefully.
next month is what
Road
month
safety
for you
month. Road
again?
safety month.
Road Safety Month. All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for having me. All the best.
Blessings. And thanks to our listeners for being here. We are so glad that you spent the time with us. This is Family Time that you're listening to, and it's brought to you by Family Life Ministries. For our center in Portmore at 117 Cecile Avenue, call 939-7917. And for the center in Kingston, call 920-1034 or 926-8101. Our scripture for today is Isaiah chapter 41, verse 13. It says, "For I, the Lord your God, hold your right hand. It is I who say to you, fear not. I am the one who helps you." And that's our encouragement. Have a good day. God bless you.